No matter what I am experiencing in life, Runebound is a game that I can get to the table, and I've got Island of Dread out here with a sort of typical for me semi variant where I'm not totally playing with only the Island of Dread cards, although I am using that. I'm using as the win conditions of just having to get through, actually there's the island right there, having to get through this deck before the doom happens, and I'm using the doom rules that are suggested in I think that they're actually suggested in the base game, where basically with a two-player game, which I've got two characters out on the table here, every 4 adventures you place a doom token, moving up until you get to the 8 spot there, and then you're done. So here are my doom tokens. I'm also using a variant that I've seen many different places where the market cards are separated into armor and weapons, and magical items and allies and companions, and then placed as such into the market decks there, so you have a choice and can give a little more intentionality to your purchase here. I think I chose my characters. I can't remember why I've got this Xerox. I think maybe when I got Island of Dread, it didn't actually have the character cards in it, and I made them. I really don't remember. Although I seem to have the minis for them. It's hard to say. I've assembled various parts of the Runebound universe over, in various different ways over a long period of time, and part of me wants to do a longer video on why this game, this foundation of a game, is so great, but it really boils down to the fact that it is malleable enough that it can accept enough house ruling, and it can be an adventure game where you can have leisurely play and just go around and explore the island that you're on here. And as I play it, I think to myself, well, I'll just stick here for a while. It's not really a game that I play with a victory condition in mind. I mean, that's true of many games, but this one in particular, I've said this before in other videos, it just has the capacity to become involving with a relatively simple way. Just reading, just reading a card, your encounter with this guy, and this little flavor text. It somehow just hits the right spot where it is enough and not too much, and the rules overhead, for me, at least for my style of play, is not very high at all. So I remember how to play the game from game to game, and gives the more than an illusion of mitigation of luck, because you can make choices and make purchases and decisions about what you're going to try to take, whether it's something more offensive, something more defensive. Yet it's light. I mean, it's not in any way a brain burner, and I think the lightness of it allows for the involvement and the flexibility. I've got here, I had an extra copy of the rules from the first edition, and I finally broke down and did what I had wanted to do, but just almost couldn't bring myself to do, which was to cut them up and make myself this little player aid card, because the one thing that I don't seem to remember from game to game is exactly what some of these things mean, and even what some of the things on the map are, whether this over here is considered to be a hills or mountains or whatever, something like that, for example. And so that's what I've got out on the table. It's a perennial favorite, Runebound 2nd edition.